Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
Welcome back to the Patrick Riggins Show. Coming in with a little Soundgarden there. Fell on Black Days. Not what we do here. Every day here is full of bright, sunny happiness.
Yeah.
That's it.
But as soon as we leave here.
Yeah. All right. This last segment, what I want to get to real quick, this is something that I ran across on a website is a column by Steve Palmer, and it's called The Supreme Court's Game of Thrones. It's on a website called the 10th Amendment Center. If you want to go out and read some of the stuff they have on there, it's good stuff. The column begins with, here in America, more than 300 million people obey the laws which are brought to life by just 436 people and ultimately adjudicated by just 9 others. Mr. Palmer is, of course, referring to Congress and the Supreme Court. This would not be possible if the 300 million refused to comply, and that would be the us as citizens. So why do we comply even when we may disagree with a certain policy? Because we've been brought up to believe that nearly all power resides in Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, this belief is incorrect. For most powers, we should be looking to the state capitals. James Madison told us the truth of the matter quite clearly in Federalist number 45. We stated, the powers delegated by the proposed Constitution to the federal government are few and defined. Those which are to remain in the state governments are numerous and indefinite. The former will be exercised principally on external objects, the former being the federal government, such as war, peace, negotiation, and foreign commerce, with which last the power of taxation will, for most part, be connected. The column goes on to state, unlike many today, Madison, who is known as the father of the Constitution, believed that Washington's powers are few and defined, exercised principally on external objects, which we just named, war, peace, negotiation, and foreign commerce. He also believed that numerous and indefinite powers reside with the state governments. Now, this understanding is confirmed by the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, which states, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states, respectively, or to the people. One of Mr. Palmer's arguments in this column is the Supreme Court has been running outside its boundaries, much like Congress has been doing. One of his examples in this column is the Obamacare ruling, where he states, how can we explain this summer's Obamacare decision, which claimed that the penalty if someone declines to buy health insurance from a private company is simultaneously both a tax and not a tax? How do we explain the fact that the Supreme Court has, without ratification by the states, adopted an ad hoc constitutional amendment process known as the, quote, living Constitution? If the American people didn't believe that power resides in Washington, would we do anything other than laugh at this nonsense? The court gets away with this absurdity only because we believe that the court has the power to do it. The reality, though, is that we have the power to make them stop. The Declaration of Independence tells us so. And he quotes part of it. Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Unfortunately, as a society, we continue to consent to nonsense. By now, the solution to this problem should be clear. In 1811, Pennsylvania's own legislature told us what it was. And he quotes from this, which is, should the general government and any of its departments violate the provisions of the Constitution, it rests with the states and with the people to apply suitable remedies. Mr. Palmer continues in this column, it is time now for the state governments to reclaim the numerous and indefinite powers which have been reserved to them. It is time now for the state governments to apply suitable remedies. It is time for our society to believe that ultimately, all power resides with the people, not with the supposed great men in Washington. Here is the plain fact. We, the people, made an agreement through our state ratifying conventions that we would follow the Constitution. The Constitution that we agreed to follow doesn't say a word about who gets the last word in interpreting a law. Is it a state? Is it an individual? Is it the Supreme Court? Is it the new Pope in Rome? The Constitution doesn't say. And the fact it says nothing specific means that the 10th Amendment applies. Again, the 10th Amendment stating the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, or reserved to the states respectively, and to the people. This power was never delegated to the court. Therefore, it is reserved to the states and the people. Under the U.S. Constitution, we can argue over whether the state government or the people get the last word. But the Constitution's silence on the matter makes it quite clear that the federal government does not get the last word on interpreting a law. We, not Washington, are the ones who are empowered to decide when a law violates the Constitution. Again, that's a column from the 10th Amendment Center, and they have a website. I believe it's 10thamendmentcenter.org, but you can Google 10th Amendment Center and get all kinds of good columns there. Oh, Tori's giving me the 3-minute. And I promised him we'd get to this Target shopper story. But go out and read some of their stuff on that website. And that's the kind of thing that makes you realize we've been sold a bill of goods as far as what we're being taught, where power resides in this country. It ultimately resides with the people. And if you want to listen to some of our thoughts on that from the radio show, again, you can go to our YouTube channel and scroll back through the archives, and you'll find all sorts of stuff on there. But we're getting to this Target story real quick. Shoppers at a Target store in Brooklyn say a label that listed the color of a plus-size dress as manatee gray was insulting. The label for the same dress in smaller sizes described it as dark heather gray. So apparently if you buy the bigger plus-size dress, you're buying it in manatee gray. Target apologized for the label. Michelle Ho, shopping at the store at Atlantic Terminal Mall, told the New York Post that Target was putting down one set of people over another with the different labels. You know, it'd be interesting to get her thoughts about a government that does exactly the same thing. But back to the story. Spokeswoman Jessica Dede called the labeling of the Mossimo brand women's plus-size kimono maxi dress, that's what it is, an unintentional oversight. She said although manatee gray was a seasonal color, Target was fixing the discrepancy. She said the item was removed from the company website. So,
thank goodness she didn't have anything in Battleship Gray.
Yes, or whale blue. So, anyway, that's a good story to wrap up the show today on. All right, we're up on the end of the show here. Thank you for listening to the Patrick Riggins Show here on the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network. If you want more information about us, you can go to where? Our Facebook page at facebook.com/Patrick Riggins Show. And be sure to hit that like button on there if you're on Facebook. Now, you don't have to be on Facebook to go to that address. If you don't have a Facebook account, you can still go there. Facebook.com/Patrick Riggins Show. We're also on Twitter at @Patrick Riggins. We're also on YouTube, as I've mentioned, youtube.com/Patrick Riggins Show. There you get all the show archives, and you'll get this show probably later on tonight. And if you want to email us, email us patrickrigginshow@gmail.com, or drop us a card or letter to WNOX here on Kingston Pike in Knoxville. Join me next Sunday afternoon when once again we'll talk about freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. This is Patrick Riggins. We'll see you next Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Have a great week.
Join us again next week for a solid dose of truth on The Patrick Riggins Show every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. Be there.